Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Project Stargate Fringe Research. I'm your host, Mark Brenner. And today we have a special guest co host. His name is Kalen Baybice. I'd just like to introduce him to everybody. Kalen, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. We're glad to have you on the team today. Um, for our listeners and our viewers on YouTube, can you kind of give us a bit of detail about your background and why you're interested in fringe topics like the paranormal?
Uh, well, I was kind of surrounded by that. My grandmother was half native, and we have like shaman descent in us, so it was pretty much in us genetically. And when I was young in my teens, I got delved in it because I was a mythology nerd and everything. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me delve even deeper down the rabbit hole. Let's see how far I can go. And then my parents are also into the whole UFOs, conspiracy theory stuff, which I believe some of it is true. And can't think of what else I can think of. I have delved a little bit in studies of like some of the Wim Hof method, or seeing if it can enhance strength or other things. And I'm now delving in a little bit of chakras a little bit, but still studying a little bit more on it.
So you're interested in the metaphysical science, and uh, that's basically
Yeah.
where your background lies, and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
opens the gate to other fields. Um, our today, you're in for a treat today, Kalen, for your first co-host gig. Today we have two amazing people, one of which has been on our program before. We have today's guest is going to be the Thin Lizzy Borden and her significant other Gary Borden. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Lizzie,
Mhm.
she used to be a co-host on Spaced Out Radio, and now she's working on her on some solo stuff. And I want to welcome you, both of you, to the program. Welcome back, Bree, and
Thanks.
thank you for being with us, Gary. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
I want to start with you, Bree.
Mhm.
I understand. Last time you kind of gave our listeners a little bit of an introduction.
Mhm.
Um, I I understand that you are into tarot. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what tarot is and how it works, how you believe it works? Tell us what it does, and uh, just for my information, I've always been very curious about it.
Yeah. Well, I have a book here, um, Tarot for Self-Care. It's this is goes into the meanings of the cards. Now, for tarot, um, people confuse that with oracle cards, and I read both. So the difference is for like a tarot deck, it has every tarot deck is going to have the same amount of cards. Every card means the same, thing. As opposed to, so this is my a box of a tarot deck. So it's 78 cards, but it is zombie themed.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's pretty neat.
So I have like from the people that did that deck, I have a housewife one, and so it looks like a box of coupons, or not coupons, but the recipe boxes. So those are different than, say, the oracle cards. Let me.
Yeah, if you can show us what that is, and explain the
So
difference a little bit
like
more.
Oracle cards, one I have unopened is my ET Experiencer deck.
Oh, wow.
And so this, so Oracle decks, it's totally dependent on whatever the author wants to and however many cards and anything. So it's two different ways of reading cards. So the cards are, the sets themselves are different. And I guess it works. I don't know how per se it works, but I have had I've had people really taken aback at how accurate things have been. And so, I guess it's just people would say like you're being in tune with spirit, but I don't know, it's like a divination that I use and that I'm accurate on. So I don't really question. I notice patterns and it's fun.
Is it so you're looking for patterns in the cards, specific types of patterns when you're flipping them, or
no, not necessarily. It's by pattern I mean people's results or their feedback. So if like I shuffle the cards, you shuffle them, it's all intuition. Like it's all the person itself doing it. And so
okay.
yeah, so it's just shuffling the cards, and there's different spreads you can have. Like when I do my free readings on my YouTube channel, I do a 1 card pull. So like I'll just pull 1 card for people, and otherwise I do like for my past life oracle cards, I do like a 3 card spread because it shows your past life, whatever's going on in your current life, and whatever's going on in your future or a future life. So and for tarot, there's all kinds of different spreads. You can the way you lay it out on the table, you can have 9 cards, one way means another thing, one way means another. And so it's, I've just done a lot of reading into it, started 7 years ago. So just kind of something that I tried and I was accurate and it kind of scared me, but I've gotten back into it recently. So it's a gift that I have that people seem to benefit from it, and I've always been a person that likes to help people, so it seems like a win-win for everyone. And when it lines up to something that they're saying that's going on currently, it's nice that you can provide something nice for someone.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I think is cool about you. When you were hosting on other shows, I just love the way you treat your guests. You seem to have all that compassion. Let me ask you this: could it be could it be a combination of maybe synchronicity and clairvoyant abilities at play here? Do you think that's a possibility? Like we were talking about with Dr. Taff?
Probably more a psychic gift, I guess. But I don't know how to use it. I don't necessarily, I can't use it on command per se, but that's something with like a gift like that, where it's like you can't really be forced to. I'm not an X-Men, it's like I can't just perform like that. But it's something that some people have, and other people might not have as much strong feedback, but anyone, anyone can do it, but I had a calling to it, and I was accurate at it, and so I just think it's, I guess, a psychic skill set of mine, but I do have that premonition in my history as well. So I know one person said that Enzo said I did a card reading for him, and we took a road trip out to Vegas for the SOR party, and he said that I swore that I did a reading for him, like saying that something was gonna benefit him in the future, I think money wise. And so like he said that, and I was like, did I? Like, I don't even remember, it's like I do a lot of readings that
Right.
I don't necessarily remember it, but that dude won like over $2,000 there.
Wow.
With me being next to him most of the time, 75% of the time. And so it's like, it's once you see
you should
patterns.
work at a casino. You're Lady Luck here. We got like Gary, you're
I
a lucky
mean,
dude, man. You got Lady Luck there.
Hey, I lost Dave.
I
lost Dave some money, and that's where it's like it can't work. You can't. It's stuff like skills like that. I mean, for some people they can. I mean, for some like Bobby, she's another tarot reader, and she is so accurate. She reminds me of like a mother or like an aunt to me. And she, like, her accuracy, like, she uses tarot, but she is like, I think, a medium where she can sense things that like only people that have those skill sets. So she uses her abilities and tarot kind of together. And then what she'll do is sometimes do a tarot reading, and then to kind of get a confirmation, she'll use an oracle deck. And then when they line up together, that's like a stronger confirmation. So
let me ask, let's go a little bit further.
Mhm.
So I know sometimes when some people like to use the spirit board, the Ouija board, whatever you want to call it. And so I know I did one time when I was like 19, and I don't know if I did something wrong or what happened, but I had a night of horrors that to this day just puts chills on my skin. Mm-hmm. Is tarot card, when you're doing oracle and tarot cards, is that possible to attract negative energy by mistake or by or like you can with a Ouija board, or is it completely safe and different?
Now, I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and my family would say it's all bad. But the differences between a Ouija board and, like, say, the cards, I mean, with like a spirit board, that's something I won't touch because of my grandfather saying a personal experience about like him physically trying to be pushed down steep stairs when he was, and his sisters were playing with a board. So with those boards, it's you're opening up a gate.
Right.
And exactly. You don't know who's going to come, and you don't know if that visitor is going to stay. So that sounds like kind of like an experience more a line of what you had. And
it is very much so.
Now with my cards, I'm not per se, it's not something, I'm not channeling something.
That makes sense.
I'm not. And so when I'll use my mom, or not my mom, my entire family. And so they've been taught that it's bad and everything. And so, growing up, it's like, oh, that's bad. But I mean, the Ouija board, it's like, for me, I'm a sensitive, and like with the boards, and that's another reason why I don't want to use the one, is because of I am a sensitive, and it's like you're a light beacon as opposed to someone with a little flame of a candle. And so that's why I don't want to use one, because I already, if around the house or the apartment, like stuff will fall all of a sudden by itself,
Right.
or, like
Poltergeist-like activity and stuff like that.
it doesn't ever scare me. So when things move on itself, it's not necessarily poltergeist. It could be an entity or a spirit trying to get your attention. So it could be a loved one. But I don't sense anything like that's really scared the bejesus out of me. I've been spooked sometimes because I scare myself. And so they are different. But I guess it's like a pendulum and like tarot cards and like a crystal ball. Those would all be things used for, divination. And so, I mean, it depends on the person. If someone's bad, they could do bad things with anything. But
that's why it's like with psychic abilities, Kaylin.
Yeah.
I want to run this by Kaylin too, because Kaylin and I work together. We've had some very deep philosophical discussions over the last year. And Kaylin, what kills me is how you can go to Walmart or Target or whatever, any retailer, and a lot of these places will sell a Ouija board back there in the toy department for any kid to grab.
Yeah,
I think that's a mistake.
It is a big mistake, and it was at first, if I remember correctly, it was just for funs and games. But I think the type of energy they released, it didn't do very well.
Yeah,
in my knowledge.
I don't know if I've told you about my experience, Kaylin, with the Ouija board. Did I ever tell you about that? What happened?
I don't think you have.
Oh, you have something that you can tell after.
Yeah, Gary, we're going to get to you here in a little bit, but I'm so interested.
We'll know about a Ouija thing. He has something to say.
I have experience with some ghosts, but I'm sensitive already, and I'm like, duly noted, I will not touch a Ouija board at all.
Yeah, what happened to me, I'll kind of bottom line it for you guys. I want to tell all of you about it. And I talked about this when Dave interviewed me months ago, but I'll rehash it real quick for everybody. So it was before I joined the Army. I was about 19 years old, and I worked at a Publix grocery store in the deli department. And there's this young lady from she was Canadian American, and we got to be really good friends. And we were sitting around the break table one day, and she says, Mark, I have psychic abilities. And by the way, she proved her clairvoyant abilities without any doubt in my mind to me. She told me things about myself that there's no way she could know, like absolutely no way. But anyway, she invited me over. She was having some poltergeist phenomenon in her home, and she lived in the same neighborhood I lived in. We lived in this big country club estate in Forsyth County, Georgia. And anyway, I arrived at her house after work, and I had like one beer. I wasn't drunk. I hadn't smoked anything or no drugs or mind altering substances really. I just had like a half of a beer, and so I was completely sober when this happened. But we put our fingers on the planchette, and the first thing that astounded me is I could feel some kind of force that was moving that planchette. Like I could feel it. Like it was really hard to describe. But it kept asking me to go answer the door, and I would, and there'd be somebody there who was about to ring the doorbell. It would tell me to a second time, and then instead of someone being there at the door on a hot summer night, this rush of bone-chilling cool air just came through the door, and I felt like I was marked or something. Or something decided to attach itself to me. Well, I was, my curiosity was satisfied. We had shadow. Somebody saw a shadow entity at one point. I was like, I'm out of here. So I drove home, and as I was driving to my side of the neighborhood, we had these really fancy street lights on the side of the road. As I would approach those lights, they would go off, and then when I would pass them, they would come back on. It did that almost pretty much the whole way home. And when I got home, I immediately went to bed. I was very tired. I was a little stressed out from what happened earlier. I just wanted to put it out of my mind and go to sleep. And I fell asleep really deep, just so fast. And as I fell asleep, went into this lucid dream state. And I saw that young lady that I was hanging out with and one of her friends, this other girl. And they were standing in front, they were kind of kneeling in front of the board, like in a trance. And the planchette was in the middle of it, spinning really, really, really fast. And then all of a sudden, the planchette just goes poof and takes off. And I woke up. I sat up in bed and I looked to my right. And there was some kind of entity there that it almost looked like one of the Greys, but it was a little different. It had these gnarly teeth and everything. The only thing I knew to do was just pray and just beg for protection, and I did. And that being, whatever it was, just poof, just gone, poof, gone. And that's why I won't mess with Ouija boards. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, all of you, starting with you, Bree.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely warrants not wanting to mess with it again. But it's definitely interesting how you had that dream and like everything around it. It just seems, like you can't necessarily make those interactions up all, that happened, in that entire day.
Yeah. I mean, that dream was so lucid. That's the thing I remember. Mm-hmm. The dream was, it's like, I don't know if it was, if it almost felt like I was in control of everything of myself completely, interacting, mm-hmm. trying to get those girls to talk to me. Gary, you've had, is this anything similar to what you said you had a Ouija experience?
Because
can you tell me, are you okay talking about it?
Oh yeah. I've never really messed with a Ouija board. I've always known not to, but
it was something.
I had one just appear one day at work in the parking lot, right where I parked my car. I walked in, pulled into the parking lot, and I went, "Oh, what's this box?" And it's a Ouija board.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's weird and random. And I picked it up with a rag and I brought it inside. I was like, I'm not bringing this into my car or nothing. And I brought it inside and I said, look what I found. And one of the kids was like, oh, I'll bring it home. And then I came to work the next day and he was like, well, I burned that Ouija board. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, a bunch of weird stuff happened on the way home. And I think his car wouldn't start. And he was just like, I just burned it.
Yeah. There's a local group.
Anything else?
Holy crap, man. That I tell you, that is absolutely crazy. I've heard other stories like that. There's a local group here in North Georgia, and they're a paranormal investigating team that deals with diabolical hauntings and possession. Also, they perform. They're not associated with the Catholic Church. They're all just different walks of life. One of them's a Baptist minister, really nice guy. I've talked to him at length. We have a Native American medicine woman, really sweet woman, just as nice as you can imagine. There's a nurse, there's a former police detective. I mean, it's an all-star team. It is a great team. There's a therapist or some other person. I don't remember who all it was, but anyway, they had a possession case. This guy it was down in Alabama, and this guy had a health issue where he couldn't stop putting on weight. This guy was almost 500 pounds.
Oh, it's almost like me. That's my issue. I'm just kidding.
No.
I know. No, the woman. I joke.
You look wonderful, Bree.
The lady has to make. I'm just making a weight joke because I'm a lady.
Well, Thank you, my lady. Anyway, look, so this guy had messed around with the Ouija board. He had a Ouija board experience or something. I don't know the whole backstory with that, but that was one of the first things that happened. And this guy, when they started the rites of the deliverance, they started their prayers and this and that, and this man, they levitated about 4 or 5 feet above his bed. And this is a 500-pound man. I mean, you need a bobcat or something to lift that guy. I mean, this guy was huge.
Yeah, just like with medical, like people that are bedridden, they have machinery that helps to move.
Yeah. But this guy, that's one case I've heard of I'm from a first-hand account of this case, and there's some more details too, which I can't divulge. But man, I'll tell you what, it was chilling. It was absolutely chilling. I don't deal with diabolical stuff. I'm not spiritually fit enough to do it, and I wouldn't know what to do. I would refer, if I was investigating, I would refer them to this group. One of these groups, one or two groups that are around here. But I'm going to shut up. Kaylin, what's your thought on that Ouija board experience?
To my knowledge, through research of mythology and demonology a little bit, that sounds like maybe a evil spirit almost towards becoming a demon. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of people everybody has different belief systems, and and we cherish that and we welcome it. And my philosophy is, even if you disagree with someone's conclusions or their ultimate belief on whatever, you can always learn a lot and find a lot of things in common. So that's where I stand with that. But
and it sounded like it leached on you and probably was there. And did you talk to that friend of yours after that night?
Yeah, I did. She actually kind of she when we were sitting at the smoke, we were sitting in the break room, but smoking, and when I told her she was eating her food, and she just kind of stopped eating and kind of shifted her chair towards me. I think that whatever was in that house, I think it followed me. Or either that or I unleashed something else.
It sounds like it was both with you and with them. Probably it's kind of stalking. Sounds like.
Yeah, it was just one of them. It's one of the top 3 hair-raising experiences I've had. But at any rate, man, let's move on. Bree, tell us about, you were telling me about one time about how you and Gary met via amazing synchronicities, and it's kind of similar to how me and my wife met. And you've told me the story, and I feel like, and I just love hearing you tell the story. Can you tell us about the synchronicities that linked you guys together?
Yeah, I'm from Minnesota originally, and that's where we met. And so we're in Colorado now. But so where I lived, I grew up in the suburbs, and he grew up, how far of a distance away?
15 miles.
15 miles, but then you moved to the city. And so you were further distance. But then I moved to the city. And so it's like, no matter where, what other things?
Too, just like I
was.
What? What's that?
Can you talk into the?
We were on the east side too.
And so there's just a bunch of, what other things?
We'd always kind of just be around the same areas.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, no matter, and we're 9 years apart, so, it's funny how yeah, I would move places, but we were always within a distance from each other.
That's very similar to me and my wife. We grew up about 40 minutes away from each other in Mississippi. Um, I was born in our families go. Our families go way back. Like I've met other people in her family long time prior to meeting her, and then there's a lot of other things too. But we met in Georgia, and it was like automatically, I just, without even saying anything, I hand her my cell phone, and she puts her number in it, and without even saying anything, and hands it back to her. Okay, all right, talk to you later.
That was nice and easy.
Yeah, man, and it was a blessing. I tell you what, my queen, I'd do anything for her. She's awesome. She is an amazing person. I'm so lucky. But you guys have you guys had some crazy experiences together, like within the paranormal umbrella?
Yeah. One of the things was we've had a past life tarot reading before. Well, I've had my own and he's had his own. And so basically, I guess to sum it up, I had an urge to have a reading, and I'd never had one before. And so I told him, I said, no, I really need to go. And I wanted to know what I had done in a past life. And so getting out of the car, I thought, what if the reader tells me I was a witch in a past life? And so during the reading, the reader did say that I was a witch in the 16th century England. And when he did Gary's reading, he did say that we've had a life cycle together, or that we knew each other in a life cycle. But
Wow.
Then he did say, he alluded to Gary having to do the work of God, be the right hand, but he didn't like to be. And so we were thinking, was that an executioner? And so whoever the reader said, you did not like to do the work, you had to do it. And so in my head, I'm like, what if I was a witch and you had to kill me? And so I give him a hard time.
Sounds like an inquisitor.
And so, but that's where it's Gary is not that person. He is the most, he looks like a scary guy, but he is the most non-confrontational. You really have to.
I love his beard. I am totally digging that beard, brother. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
It takes years, but
Halen, do you want a beard?
I've grown a beard. It just takes a while.
Dude, let me tell y'all something about this guy. At work, we have to stretch before work. He does the banana splits, with his legs completely to the right. I mean, to side him. I don't know how he does it.
I'm physically
baseball player.
I'm physically fit, and I was a former gymnast, and I'm found working out helps because I am diagnosed with autism. So I think that's another thing why I'm very sensitive with a lot of other stuff. I'm basically a true mutant.
You're in good company, brother. And this guy is one of the most intelligent. I invited him to join our research group because he's just one of the most intelligent guys I've ever met in my life. He's like a brother. Him and his two brothers work. We all work together, and what a blessing it is. I just love those guys to pieces. So,
I'm not that clever. I just like stuff like this stuff.
Dude, you sell yourself short, man. Bug off. You're not. You're smart. Just get over it. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's incredible. But
it gets crazier. The story gets crazier.
Okay.
So, we decided to go home, and it was a different way than we normally take. And then we see a license plate in front of us, and it was a custom license plate that said soulmate. Soulmates. So it's there's only one possibility in the state that is going to be in front of us on a different way that we take home after the reading. And I'm a skeptical person. Yeah. And that's when in my head, I'm like, was that really accurate? Or is that, so when I'm thinking those thoughts, I see that license plate right after it. So that's one thing that we've had an interesting experience, metaphysical, wise, but we did live in a duplex in Minneapolis that we think was haunted, or it was dark energy, I felt like, and just, it was just a crappy situation we had to live in for the lease, but
as a witch, can you do an exorcism? Like, as a witch, can you?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily know where to start on that. I mean,
you don't deal with that stuff.
No, I would, if someone came to me and, I would just, my Aztec side would be like, you need to, like you need to do Palo Santo, you need to put, salt around. Like I'm a different.
Yeah, I smudged my house. I prayed over my family. Well, the last house we lived in, I've done stuff like that. In Christianity, most Christians believe in that too. The smudging and the salt and everything. I did it one time, and because we were having a lot of activity in this house and it was scaring the daylights out of my wife. So I anointed all the doors, I anointed everything, and I did the salt thing at the windows, and it seemed to work, at least for a while. It seemed to work for a while. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sometimes smudging can help. Otherwise, it can intensify and piss whatever it is off.
Yep.
No. I believe 180%. I don't believe in demons. I know they're real. I have seen some crazy stuff, man, over the years. I think that there's other types of beings also. A lot of my friends believe in these beings called elementals.
Oh.
Yeah. Do y'all know what those are?
Oh, I do.
I guess I don't. Do you, Gary?
A little bit. I've heard them.
Yeah.
There's many types that are out there that I've done research. There's the Jinn, there's the Fae.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, you got
those type of elementals, which they're supposedly just the same age as angels, or maybe older. We don't know. They say they are.
I think the Jinn. I believe in the Jinn, and the reason I believe in the Jinn specifically is some of them. I have a battle buddy I served with. I've lost contact with him, but when he did 2 tours in the Middle East, and he has the worst PTSD I've ever seen. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The VA has completely dropped the ball with him, unfortunately, but he's doing okay now, last I heard. But when he came back, it wasn't very long when he ETS'd out of the Army after those tours, and they started having poltergeist activity in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it may have been spirit induced instead of psychic. I think it may have been a infestation issue and I've heard of other soldiers and airmen and Marines that come back from the Middle East that have these experiences like that.
Oh yeah, exactly. I used to live in Saudi Arabia, so.
Yeah, I believe in the Jinn. Do y'all believe in the Jinn?
Yeah, it's just other cultures.
Yeah.
What ghosts are, just so, I mean, and I know a lot of is it Arabic?
Yes,
paranormal?
It's Arabic, Iranian, and all that stuff. They believe in the Jinn, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah. So these are just other cultures, what they call ghosts or spirits. So it's definitely believe in them. It's just, different names, different areas of the world.
I agree. I concur with that. And there's also the possibility. I don't know if y'all have ever considered this, but what if these are all the same being and they're manifesting themselves in different ways? That's another interesting possibility I've heard. Kind of like a trickster, having like a trickster-like element. I think in some degree that's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. I really do. Yeah, I mean, after Bob Bigelow, when he sold Skinwalker, he took a lot of the secrets with him. And MUFON, get this, MUFON, he paid MUFON $1 million or something like that. It was about $1 million, I think, to get access to all their files right after he sold the ranch. And now this guy that owns it now, he's being very, very transparent. He's got the show on History Channel. But anyway, I didn't mean to get us veered off course. Sorry, Bree.
You're good. The house in Minneapolis, so it had a lot of history in the house. When was the house built in?
It was 1913.
1913, so it was a lot of wood, and wood and water contain the energy of things. And so the landlord is a very angry, bitter old lady.
Oh.
And she must have lived there when she was younger, but then has just rented it out. She was a slumlord. And so she finally was like, oh, I'm going to be moving upstairs. And then she was like kicking the upstairs neighbors out. And then I was like, I don't want to live anywhere near her. And what was she? She was selling her mom's taxidermied cat and outside in the garage sale.
Whoa, so that's creepy, man.
She's that kind of lady.
Wow.
So there was back and forth with her. So we were fighting against her and against this and that. So there was a lot of things that we had gone through. And so who knows what the people prior to us had, the people prior to them, going forward, back and back. And so we saw the Hat Man in.
Oh, wow.
In the duplex. And so, but when we were in that duplex still, living there full time, I did try dowsing rods.
Really?
Don't laugh at me.
No, I want to hear about that.
So, but when you do it from a coat hanger, you have to make sure to tape the edges, the ends, so that way they don't cut you, which
right.
I learned that lesson because, just giggling after I say I learned that lesson. But so I use it and I guess it was like a little, I don't know if there was really any activity. And so in my head, of course, I'm thinking like, oh, whatever. It's like nothing. But then all of a sudden the rod's just like someone it was like someone was pissed off that I thought that. And
when the rods did that, did you make that noise? Did you go?
No, I wish I would have, but it was like something new. I was having a doubt, but it was around the electronics. So I don't know if the dowsing rods would go off because of electronics. I know they would go off because of water. So right. That's where I said to him, probably a couple months ago, I was like, were you just telling me that to not scare me? Or he said something like, oh, or something, it goes off because of electronics. I was like, did you just tell me that not to scare me? And he's like, yeah. So I don't know how, I don't know, but that was one thing that when I had a skeptical thought with them in my hand, they went, and I got cut, just not anything bad, but the ends that we scratched.
Gary, did you have to call the kitty ambulance for her? Yeah, it's like this little ambulance that pulls up and they're like,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah, that was a really messed up house. I had a whole stack of plates thrown in my face. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I opened up the kitchen cabinet and all of a sudden, like 6 plates just flew out right into my face.
Oh, no way, man.
Ooh.
Yep.
It's spontaneous, good old spontaneous PK. Love it.
But it was like, I didn't feel anything was aggressive towards me at that place, but that action would be something aggressive towards you.
Yeah,
I would say, I would count that.
it didn't like me there.
So when we had to move out, we had to do 1 month that we had to pay on both the new apartment and the old duplex. And it was only like a block and a half away from each other. So we thought, we have a month left. We can move out in peace. Like, the landlord is doing all this repair on the house that, we'll take our time, is what we thought.
And for spite.
Yeah, for spite, too.
The law is if your property is in the house, she can't go into the house
Without
to do any work or anything
notice.
without notice.
Proper notice. And so it's like, if you bust the landlord coming in when they shouldn't, then you have land, you have tenants' rights in Minnesota.
In Minneapolis, they have to pay you $150 every time they enter your residency without notification.
Wow.
Oh.
Huh.
So and this whole this comes up, and so Gary had the first incident with the Hat Man, and so why don't you tell, because you're good at.
Yes, so we left all that stuff in the house so that way I could bust her. And I was taking the bus home from work, and like the bus stop would drop me off a block north, and I'd have to walk a block south, buy the old duplex, and then hang a left at the duplex to go another block south to our house. And because we were literally, less than 300 yards away, we moved. And so I'm getting home and I'm walking down the wall, and we had all the blinds open, and I looked on the little sun porch, and I totally saw a guy standing there wearing a hat.
I would have totally pissed my pants.
Oh, he was wearing all black, and I go, "Oh, I got you!" And I ran across the street as fast as I can, and I ran into that house as fast as I could, and I was like, "I got you, MFer!" as loud as I could, and I ran through that house looking for somebody, and there was nobody there.
Wow.
Back door was locked, front door was locked, side doors were locked. There was no way they could have got out of there before I got there without me knowing.
But there were people like working, so this was still when there's like upstairs. People like that were renovating. So it would have, where it's like, it's plausible that someone could be there, but not get in and out and everything in that time.
Yep.
You guys are like Greg and Dan Newkirk, but way cooler.
I have a question. Who is the Hat Man? I'm going
to hand the floor to you, Kaylin. We're approaching the bottom of the hour before we go to break here in about 10, 12 minutes. Why don't you go ahead and ask, do some Q&A with them.
Who is the Hat Man? I'm new to that one. I know a lot of paranormal stuff, but that's a new one.
So the Hat Man is, sometimes it's known, it's a shadow entity that has been noticed throughout. It is a lot of times it's tied in with sleep paralysis, where he's like a sleep paralysis demon. But what happened was, a few years ago, these people just all started talking about, and they've noticed this coincidence of shadow people wearing a wide-brimmed hat. And every person was like, it's the same exact shape and everything. And that's where it all kind of went down this connection rabbit hole.
There's a documentary a few years ago, because I had not known it was a thing until that documentary I'd seen a few years ago. And it was, now half the documentary, it was people seeing the Hat Man like us. But then the other half of the documentary was people that are experiencing sleep paralysis. That is what they see when something's on their, the weight is on their chest and they can't move, and they look and then they see somebody in a hat staring at them. So we've never seen it during a sleep paralysis. So that's
only had to deal with one sleep paralysis, but let's just say I won on that one.
That's definitely good.
I was a little awkward. I'm like, hi, do I know you?
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, I haven't had sleep paralysis or anything like that, but it's interesting how I've never heard of something that has been so much where it's a part of being seen with people having sleep paralysis, and then also just, as a kind of like a ghost, where it's like people will see it, an apparition during the day. So I think that's something that's interesting about the Hat Man also.
Yeah, because it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I saw him.
It sounds like he may, if you guys are familiar with the Gamori at all, sounds like he's part of the shadow people, which are they're known as the Watchers, which they're a little bit dangerous.
I've heard of the Watchers before.
Me too.
I'll definitely I'll have to look into that some more, because that's the thing where, people are like, I think it's a shadow person, where I've never seen a shadow person. Now he's the one that always, he has a lot more unique things than I do, but it's like when we're together, it's like that's when my things magnified. So it's like my gifts intensified, and different things, peaked when we met. So is another coincidence.
My other question is, you being a witch and all, are you a Wiccan or just a mystic, or
I'm a pagan
rabbi?
Witch. I'm a pagan witch.
Okay.
So my mom's Mexican, so I'm Aztec on her side, and my dad is Norwegian, and a little bit of English and Polish, so Prussian. And so I've done I've done some genealogy research. And so on my Prussian grandma side, I'm related to the Queen of England, and
wow.
37 degrees separated. So very distilled. If I am a reptilian, it's very distilled down.
Can I get your autograph, please?
Yeah, there you go. And so, and with the Norwegian, we have the Sami, who are the indigenous, people of Lapland.
Mm-hmm.
So the Laplanders, the reindeer people. A lot of my roots are pagan, and so that's what I gravitate towards. Is just I borrow. So I have those three main cultures that I borrow from the metaphysical world. So I guess I associate myself as like a healer, where if something's wrong, it's like I'll say, it's like, you need to, have X, Y, and Z. It's like, it's like people come to know like natural remedies or like spiritual stuff is more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So pagan versus Wiccan.
So you're a true pagan. My family has been like more rabbi. If you've heard of the rabbis have done magic in the past, they know. Yes. The story goes, if you know about the golems in mythology or stuff like that, the rabbis were the first who created them. due to, hopefully I remember the story correctly, that the barbarians were attacking their village, so they prayed to God, and an angel came to them and gave them a sigil to create a golem, which the golem helped, but they decided to keep it, which the angel did say, destroy it, keep the sigil just in case. But the golem got a little bit out of hand. But they do know magic, but they don't practice it. They know knowledge of it, but they only use it when it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Cool.
Good questions, Kaylin.
Yeah.
We're about to hit the bottom of the hour. When we come back, let's go to break, but when we come back, Gary, you've had some experiences with non-human entities and possibly ETs or whatever they are. Let's talk about that and let's talk more about what you were talking about, Bree. I appreciate.
She's going to talk about how she saw the Hat Man too.
Oh boy!
We can do that when we come back.
Absolutely. Let's do that. And you're listening to Project Stargate Fringe Research. We're here with our special guests, Bree and Gary, and we will be right back. And we have a short delay. Hi, we're back. Welcome back to Project Stargate Fringe Research, and we're here with Bree and Gary, the also known as the Thin Lizzy Borden, rather, and Gary Borden, and my co-host Kaylin by Spay. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bree, before we went to break, you had some other experiences you wanted to share with us. Go ahead and take it off from there.
Yeah, one was the Hat Man. So Gary had his sighting of it, and so that made me think, I'm like, am I ever going to see the Hat Man myself, or is it? So I think it was a couple days later from your incident, I believe. And so I think
it was like a week.
A week? Okay. So it wasn't immediately. It was within a short span of time. You were taking me to a chiropractor appointment. And so we had to go, up up a block. And then at the stoplight, that's where you take a right onto Lindale Avenue, and that's the avenue the haunted duplex was on. And so when we were at the stop sign, it was further down the block. And so when we were at the stop sign, that's when I had the thought of, am I ever going to see the Hat Man for myself or not? And so Gary taken the right hand turn, and then when we drove past our place that we still were paying on it, I saw the Hat Man for myself, and I thought it was an older style lamp at first, because in the sunroom it's shutters where it must have stopped at like maybe 5 feet, because when I stood, I could see above it, and I'm 5'7". So it looked like, just out of my peripheral is what caught my attention. And then I fully turned and looked. And that's when I saw a man that was opaque and black, just old, black opaque figure. And so I thought it was like a older style lamp because of like kind of the shape. And I was like,
so it had dimension to it. It wasn't 2-dimensional. Was it 3-dimensional? Is that fair to say?
I guess, yeah, it looked like it was someone, like a body. It was just a black mass.
Yeah, it was like backlit.
And so that's where I had that thought, and immediately right after is where I saw it for myself. So that's almost, for the like premonition, predicting or thinking about it before it happened. And so that's the only time I've ever seen like a ghost or anything, I guess. I've seen a Thunderbird in Minneapolis.
Oh, really?
But I haven't.
Before we go to that, let me ask you a question.
Oh, that would be for another podcast. But I have never seen any ghosts or anything. So that's my first time that I've seen something that would be a ghost. You know,
could it be a thought form? A tulpa.
Like, what do you?
I think they call them. Kalen, help me out
yes.
here.
A tulpa.
A tulpa.
Yeah.
Define tulpa for Bree.
Oh, a tulpa is a ancient way how to use thoughts. It takes a group of people. It's to create a new being. It's, I believe, some of the Tibetan monks, Chinese monks, have used this technique. It's an old Chinese magic trick. Some say it's also in some part of the world. There are theories that if you want a certain creature exists to come to life, it can. It's basically using your consciousness, your psyche, to create a creature.
Or a thought form.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that it was created. Like, are you saying like I thought it and then
you thought into it? It's like you're thinking something into existence, basically.
I mean, who's to think? I'm not sure. I have a habit of thinking things before they happen, so I have that. I have at least that part where, I think things. Who knows?
It's just a random thought that came through my mind because I've heard people talking about that. But please continue.
Yeah, but that was it. Just thought of it. Am I ever gonna see it? And then drove past and I saw it for myself. So that was an interesting. Do you have to cough? Okay. But that was all for the Hat Man. So that was my part.
Wow.
And then we can.
That's pretty interesting, Gary. Now, Gary and I, we have something in common. I believe that I've had some sort of experiences with some sort of non-human intelligence throughout my life, and Gary, you do too. Tell us. Start from the beginning. Tell us about your experiences and from when they began to present, if you will.
Gosh, I mean, they're like earliest memories, I guess, is that kind of stuff. Like, it's just kind of always been there. Like, you always have that little shadow or the thoughts of things looking through the windows at you, or you see something in the corner of the room, and stuff like that, I guess.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Mojave Desert, outside of right next to Edwards Air Force Base.
Oh, wow.
George Air Force Base was like a mile away from our house. And then Edwards Air Force Base was about 15 miles, 20 miles. And then, I was born in Encino.
You're Encino Man. You are literally the Encino Man.
Yep.
Like the movie.
And, so I grew up out there, and we would see things flying all the time. Like weird lights and things like that. We also lived where a lot of experimental aircraft was flown. We saw the B-2 stealth bomber and the F-117 before it was released to the public, years before. They would fly over them with F-18s on the corners of it. And what is that thing flying? Yeah, so it was a wild place to live.
80s.
In the 80s, yeah. They used to break the sound barrier over our house all the time because the Bell X-1 with Chuck Yeager that broke the sound barrier for the first time flew right over Apple Valley, right next to where we lived. So, yeah, it was a wild place.
I bet, man. I live closest Air Force Base to where I live is about It's in Kennesaw, which is about, I don't know, an hour away, 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah. But one time I had a UFO sighting with Greg one time, and he the night before I had a sighting by myself, and I saw what looked like two F-16 interceptors coming into the airspace, like they were looking for something, or but that object right before they flew into the airspace, they just went, gone. It's like it just phased out of our existence. It was really amazing. But go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so, but it all, like, I started with, well, I had a lot of reoccurring dreams that were all kind of the same. It was very weird. It was very, almost like there was a lot of different lights, and it was almost like circuitry patterned. And I'd have this dream over and over and over again, and I still have it every once in a while now.
Like, was the pattern your environment or what you're seeing? Like,
yeah, which it's almost like you were flying, and you were seeing this weird patterns everywhere, almost like Tron, the old Tron.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And but yeah, that started, and then I had a time we had, well, it started off with I had a bunch of headaches when I was a kid, and they brought me into the doctor, and then they said, well, there's something in your sinus cavity, and they took some, tweezers up and reached up into your brain almost and pulled out. It looked like a metallic bead, and it looked like the orb that in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but super small.
Like a BB?
What's that?
Like a BB?
Yeah. And they took it away from us. They said, "Oh, it looks like a bead from a necklace." And they're like, "Maybe your sister jammed something up your nose
when you were sleeping."
When I was
Yeah, I'm sure that happens all the time.
And we never got to see it, and it was gone. And yeah, that was weird. And then we used to go camping up in the Northern California, up by Trinity Lake.
Oh, I bet it's beautiful up there.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, it's right next to where the Patterson-Gimlin film was filmed.
I've heard David Pilates talking about that area.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so we've had weird Sasquatch encounters. And
you've heard wood knocks?
Yeah.
Tree knocks?
Tree knocks a bunch. And then,
when you were camping in that area?
Yep. And then I've heard those up in northern Minnesota too. And then we had I was sleeping one time, and we had something crawl up and sniff my head while I was asleep outside the tent and left. And we didn't know. We were like, I don't think that was a bear. It did not sound like a bear. And
was it a person?
And it was a really big person.
Did you get like a description of what it looked like?
We were inside a tent, so we didn't see it. We just thought, oh crap, there must be a bear outside.
Could you hear it sniff?
Yeah, you could.
Did it sound like a bear sniffing, or some kind of animal, or like humanish?
It sounded more humanish. It didn't have the big resonating snout like a bear has when they sniff you, or when you can hear them sniffing. But yeah, we had that, and then, gosh,
I know you have a plethora. You have a lot of.
Name a topic. Get into that.
Bree, you're such a blessing to him. Like you're doing a good job. You're being a good wife. I like my wife has to keep me in line like that sometimes. You're doing a great job.
He's not the best with his words. So okay. He's sometimes has a hard time with trying to get stuff out, or he is not the best with the words that do come out. And so that's where
that's okay.
It's nice to just have a little reminder or adding to any little bits.
You've done really well tonight. I couldn't tell. You did really well.
That's understandable. I have problems with English.
Exactly.
Well, he has ADD too, so.
But the whole.
He's sensitive all around.
Yep, I've just been very sensitive to the woo, I guess. A lot of things. We had the weird predator entity. I've seen stuff
the,
like that.
The Shimmer Man, I think it's called.
Glimmer Man.
Glimmer Man, yeah. Glimmer Man.
Wow, do tell.
I'm gonna research that. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, that one's a little cool one. But no, it's
Where
almost
did you
just
see
like,
that one?
That was in northern Minnesota also. In Minnesota. Minnesota is a very weird place. And I don't think enough people think about it, but it's all that whole
It's
entire
just a
land
flyover state to a lot of people, but we had Prince, dang it.
That whole land is pure limestone everywhere for bedrock, except for the northern part.
What did you used to do for work?
I used to do geotechnical soil borings. So we used to classify the ground underneath. And
so that's why he's very good with rock knowledge.
Yep.
Or gem and minerals, I should say.
And then that's where I learned how to use dowsing rods too.
Oh
wow.
Man.
Okay.
I had an old guy that worked there who would pull them out before the utility meets to figure out where all the utilities were. And so he'd walk, and you'd look over, and you'd see him doing this weird walk with this little wire coat hanger that he'd take from his uniform shirt, and he'd doing this walk, and you'd see the thing go whoop, and then he'd put a little mark on the ground. Then he'd keep walking to the next one and watch it go whoop, and he'd put a mark on the ground. And then the utility guys would come out with their little sensors and go boop, right where he put the marks.
I want to try dowsing. You've got my y'all have my curiosity peaked here.
It's worth looking into.
I'm used to crystals, so I'm more sensitive than a normal person.
We were at a gem and mineral show this weekend, and I'm a highly sensitive person.
Hang on.
So an empath. Oh, he's gonna show off. But I'm like, I had a really hard time. And so when people say like they're an empath, like I will get, I guess it's on like a physical level with me. Mm-hmm. And so being in a small place, I have all those other people around. I have their emotions, I have their pains, I have everything else. And then I have these objects from those places too. So it's like the first day I was so drained. It was just so crazy. We were inside and like we kept on getting lost inside. And Gary's the best tracker I've ever known, a person with direction. And he was even turned back. And he was like, it's the crystal energy that threw us off. Because he was saying, because he grew up, backpacking and everything. So he has a lot of, experience in the nature and everything like that.
My dad was a guy,
very cool
backcountry guide for side money and stuff. And then we used to go out and cut firewood out in the mountains and everything. He was a firefighter with CDF, the California Department of Forestry, before it was Cal Fire. So, yeah.
Land of Mordor.
Yep. I grew up outside, so.
Yeah. So he is definitely like, I think he must have been some indigenous in a past life, because he's like, he has a lot of, Gary has a lot of, like, he's just sensitive, kind of all around, but.
Oh, wow. That is really cool. Can you just for our listeners that are listening on Spotify, can you describe what we're looking at here?
Gary is a good.
It's a big slab of peacock labradite.
Labradite. I was gonna.
Okay.
I think it's kind of. Yeah, it's not showing up well.
The colors aren't.
Color.
It's bluish, grayish. I'm seeing a little bit black. Yeah, black.
I'm seeing blue and gray and a little bit of black.
It doesn't do it justice, but this is a different piece of labradite.
Ooh,
oh, wow,
I think that's
really
showing
cool.
much better than the
So, yeah.
That's real pretty.
I think Gary might have polished. Gary polished that one too.
It looks like he did.
Yeah.
But
wow, that's real pretty.
So, and that's where it's, we went there this weekend, and it was like there was a couple pieces.
Very nice, Gary.
Yeah, it's not picking up on that, but I showed this.
I can see it all right. I can see it pretty good.
You can definitely see that. But Gary, yeah, definitely, he loves his, like, he's
smoky quartz.
This is him being Rain Man. This is his
quartz.
Rain Man.
Smoky quartz. Yeah, it's and it has 2 points to it. So
that is beautiful, man. I used to have a quartz like that. I gave it to my son. I had a whole rock collection that I gave to my son, and God only knows what happened to it.
Oh, we got a lot of rocks here.
So let me ask y'all a question. What is the significance? How does energy contain itself in rocks and crystals? It makes sense to me that it can, but how do you know how? Do you have any idea? Either one of you have any idea of the mechanism of how this works? Like just in a general sense.
Why don't you? I mean, because you're the one that got me into it, because I was on my own path, and so I expressed interest in wanting to get, certain gem and minerals for the metaphysical purposes. And so, like, I was like, do you think, like, it's actually that it actually does stuff? And so, to me, I'm like, who knows if it actually does what it says it's supposed to? But if it brings me happiness and joy from a piece, it's decoration, where it's like it's bringing me joy. And so but it contains all the energy and everything from, so I think of it in that aspect.
I didn't mean to blindside you on that question. I apologize.
No, you're good. But like, how would you, because you're better at, like, I think, describing that.
So from what everybody that I've understood, and just is the fact that it's the crystalline structure. It's how the molecules are formed to make, like, quartz always has those points, that specific point. But the way it works is the energy is harnessed by the crystalline structure, and it transmits. That's why they use quartz in watches. Because that's why you always see that quartz watch. There's a quartz crystal in there. They use quartz in all sorts of electronics. Your old tube amps, your old tube transmitters for your radios, all of that stuff was all about quartz, because of that, the way the energy would transmit through it, and how it would hold energy.
You can store data in it also, I heard.
Yep, exactly. So, and that's where it all boils into it. But yeah.
Wow.
No, and that's where you're definitely, like, that's where it's like we're a good team, because when we went into the gem and mineral show, like, he's good at, like, he has a good eye for things, and then I'll know a purpose for it or something. So it definitely helped me out.
Y'all should have your own reality show.
Yeah, maybe with Ozzy Osbourne, that would be nice.
Yeah, the Osbourne's coming. You like Ozzy?
I do.
What kind of music do y'all like?
Metal.
Yeah.
Stoner metal.
Yeah.
I literally listen to everything. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for. I like classical, I like jazz, I like bossa nova, but I love industrial, I love metal, I love I like Old White Zombie, 9 Inch Nails. And then I like a lot of stuff like that.
I'm considered a alternative.
Yeah.
Between country and metal, an alternative.
Yeah, I like metal. I love metal. But anyway, I keep getting off the beaten path. Gary, have you ever had an actual one, like an encounter with, like, what they call, like, what might be an extraterrestrial being, like the gray or something along those lines?
Only, I guess, in fragments of memories or dreams, I guess, would be the best way of saying it.
Yeah.
Like that repressed memory stuff. So.
Oh, like flashes will?
Yeah. I have to be hypnotized, I guess, one of these days. But
and that's the thing. He's come a long way from when we first met and talked about things, because he wouldn't like really talk about anything, and like I would want to try to help pull stuff out, and because that's the helper in me, is that wanting to try to heal someone, and he's definitely, I think a lot of it was being a kid and told like that isn't real, being a kid told that's not real, here you have to take medication to shut you up, and so he's definitely he's had a lot of experiences, and so now he's able to talk about it more and more, so it's great to see where he's come, but I would like to have to see if someone could do a full regression on him. I mean, of course, I'm curious for my own self, but I think with him, to actually understand would be if he had a dream of a dream. So if the time and place was right for him to access the knowledge, he could maybe on his own or have it regressed. So
I'm on the fence about it for myself. One of the guys that's in MUFON with me here in Georgia, he does that stuff, and he's talked to me about it before, and I'm kind of on the fence about it because what if it's something really traumatizing, and I already suffer from post-traumatic stress. I have to weigh all these things out. Do I, how bad do I want to know?
That's with the thing about regression, and the lady, I think she does regression, the one that made this deck, her name is Misha Johnson, and she's been on SOR. She was at the Las Vegas party, so I was actually sitting like a person away from her, and I was talking to her about the deck and saying that I was accurate, because when I did a reading on Gary about with this deck that it's been accurate, it said, I think, my lab for Gary.
Wow, that's creepy, man. I had a lady named Niara Isley. I don't know if you ever heard of her. I had her on my program at the beginning of the year, and she's had MyLab and non-MyLab abduction experiences ever since she was little. And so,
yeah, with the regression, you just have to make sure it's when you're comfortable. Yep. That's the biggest thing, where, like you said, it's, you have to be comfortable and with the person, and you have to know that they can help you if things go awry, which are what you were describing, that
right.
Like, you'll be like Homer Simpson on The Simpsons.
Yeah, I mean, you
walk around screaming for days.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And so I do think it's very beneficial, but it has to be the right time and place for it to be, because that's where it's, I mean, it could be that you're not remembering it because you're not ready to at that time, where you might need some spiritual growing, you might need some other thing, and then when it's time, you might remember it on your own or go through a regression, but it needs to be when it feels right, where just everything feels right, because when it's not, you could remember something, and then if the therapist doesn't know how, to deal with what is sitting in their chair now, I mean, someone, like Gary said, it's like someone can just be left, more traumatized than they were going in. And so it's one of the things that you have to think about.
Absolutely. Kaylin, I want to open the floor up to you to make some comments and some questions. I'll let you have the floor.
All right. So, do you believe some of these entities or aliens know about some magic or know some kind of form of it? Because evidence showed that they keep erasing certain stuff.
I guess it would be interesting. I did a show with Cheryl Costa, and she, I think, was saying that one of her, I think she lived in like she was a monk, or it was like a monastery, like it was someplace.
Mm-hmm.
But then whoever her teacher was, they were talking about the sky people. And so I don't necessarily know if they use magic. I just think they're different beings that possess something totally different, that to us it might be magic, but to them it's, just something innate. So I don't necessarily know if it's magic that they use, but I definitely understand that they have different skill sets than us. That's for sure.
The reason why I say that, I'm a big Marvel nerd, so like Asgardians know a form of magic. They just call it like an extension of science in a way.
It's totally plausible,
Or in Mass Effect, they have. I don't know if any of y'all have ever played Mass Effect. In that game, the role playing, it's like a sci-fi role playing game, and you have what they call biotic powers or biotic abilities. Maybe it's to them, it's something like that.
Yeah, who
like
knows?
The midi-chlorians.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, Kaylin, to interrupt you.
No worries. Do you think, well, in my opinion on this, what do you think aliens are technically doing? Are they studying us, or they're trying to tell us something?
Well, my opinion would be both. That, like the Ariel school incident, how, that's not the first and only mass school sighting of aliens. And so they are reaching out to younger generations and saying to be careful about technology and about the environment and resources. So, but when you have like Gary, if he's had an implant in him that he still has, I would say that would be someone would be tracking. And so they're tracking, but then helping us out. But then like they're observing us, if they're taking us, I would say, I feel like when we're taken, we're a science experiment to them. And when people are being implanted, with objects, I think the objects are just like what we do with fish or any animals that you're taking, so you can track to find out, because who knows about I have a friend that just did a show about alien implants, and I was on with him talking about it, but like we don't know what their purpose is for, but some people, it's the weirdest things that are found in their body that aren't supposed to be there. So I think I kind of trailed off, but it's who knows? What's your opinions about it? I mean,
it's all weird.
Yeah, it's all
it's all weird.
It's all weird.
My middle name is weird, man.
I never know though.
I just think that they're tracking. I mean,
I think a lot of it has to do with science.
I was going to say that they could be alien hybrid babies that they're tracking is what my thought was going to be. Is that what you were going to say? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt
It's all
you.
about and it's all about, you have to think too, is the fact that if they are so advanced that they can easily erase your mind or make you forget everything that happened, are the people that are communicating that, hey, they're giving me messages, did they just alter their perception of reality to thinking this is what they want, when it's all just a way of evaporating the mind or evaporating your memory? Because that's exactly it. Is there's a lot of theory that they alter your perception of how you see a UFO flying through the sky,
or like the owls.
Yep.
Yep.
Or like the owls, or
there's
like,
a theory that there's two factions that are at war with each other. So we don't know if they're good or bad, or there's two factions.
Which one was it? The consortium and something else.
Oh, I don't
Oh,
know.
he knows.
Yeah. I've heard that stuff. I forgot the other one though. The Syndicate? No. Something else. But no, there's a lot of it.
There's like the good factions trying to help us advance to help fight this thing, and the other one that's trying to eradicate us.
Or they're from a different reality, or they're time travelers who are coming back to look at the world before we blew it apart into millions of pieces, and that's what humans look like when they evolved.
Yep.
I have a slightly different look at it. I think that what we're dealing with is something way beyond a simple matter of VTs from another planet coming to visit us. I think it's something. The evidence and the information we have points towards something even more grandiose than that. I think that we're talking about something that's been going on for tens of thousands of years at least. I believe that this hybridization program that we have pretty decent evidence to see that, yeah, it is going on. I think that this is a rehash from history and what happened in the fifth chapter of Book of Genesis. I think they're trying to rehash what happened as far as the Nephilim, the theory behind that. It's just a theory, but that's one thing I think, a possibility I think might be going on. Now, are they doing it for bad reasons or good reasons? Well, I mean, I think if you people look at the evidence, there's multiple sides to this. There really is very complicated. It's not just a simple matter. Number one, in a lot of cases, we're taken without our permission, and that right there is kind of intrusive. The second thing that I've noticed is also some of the things that happen whenever people are able to be regressed and really plow through those deep layers of screen memories. They remember something completely different than what they thought they remembered. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, there's some very awful things that are traumatic and invasive and, quite frankly, hateful things that are done to them. Of the sexual nature, of the psychological nature. That's just one possibility. But I think there's also good people, I think there's some good ones and bad ones out there. I think the good ones, I think they're in some degree, I think they're watching what's going on, and I think there are good ones out there. But I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on that.
Yeah.
My other question is, since if you have been going around knowing about the news and everything that Putin released the Tartarian maps, if you're familiar with that?
No.
Basically, it's saying it's an old world and they already had supposedly knowledge of already advanced technology, and supposedly we have met some aliens already. Do you think this might change the world a little bit once a lot more information is released?
I think, as humans, I think we are so cynical that we literally have to be smacked by an alien in order for us to believe it. The general public is what's going to happen. Like, it's just going to get washed away just like another Condon report or another, anything else that's out there, is it's just going to be, oh, that's really interesting, but that's kind of how I feel. Anytime something comes out that the general public just kind of whitewash or washes it away.
I think maybe it's also possible, with that being said, guys, I mean, there's a lot of people, let's face it, I'm not trying to get political or anything, but there's a lot of people who don't trust the federal government. What if they come out with another disclosure or something like that, and people are like, whatever, they're probably lying about it. That's what worries me, because this is this is very serious, and people should take it serious.
Yep. Well, it's like basically everything else, is that we are so desensitized to things that it just doesn't even pay attention to it anymore. We just let things go by that 10 years ago would have been like, oh my gosh, what's going on in the world?
Yeah.
And that's the theory of why there's so many science fiction movies, is that it's just kind of there to nullify you into
desensitize us.
Oh,
so
aliens, yeah. Or aliens are something normal.
And my theory, and me and my family have talked about this, is it's gonna change a lot of faith general. We know it's not gonna affect us because we are weirder already. But with, like, saying Christians, Catholics, Muslims, the big religion, that it will shake their faith a little bit, which, in my opinion, I think is like some truth, but I don't think it's going to be like.
I think some people it would, but so a lot of people it won't. I think regardless of what faith you are, you're good. I think most people are still going to believe in what they believe in.
Yes, because. So what if aliens believed? It does say a lot in my faith that it says we are the master of our world. Who's to say there's other planets or other things that he has already created that we are not?
Who knows?
Hey, there's already been religions that worship aliens. I mean, look at Heaven's Gate.
Yeah.
There you go.
Egyptians.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, I don't know. I think we are, in the cosmic world, there is so much out there that's so big that we could never perceive it. Like,
I agree.
Human beings,
we only use X amount of our brain, so if we used all our brain, maybe we could.
It's just we only know what we know. And every year, every day, we learn something new. We learn something new about this planet every day. We learn something new about the oceans. I think that we have always been visited, and I think that the whole entire universe and galaxy is a lot like Star Wars. There's planets everywhere with aliens. And everybody just kind of waits until you get developed enough to then make contact, kind of. And that's what they've been doing over the years for thousands of years, is coming back and checking in and checking in. And the reason that we had a whole lot of different UFOs come was after 1947 and 1945 is that we set off a big radiation signal into the universe when we set off the first atomic bomb. And that brought in a lot of attention. Every time we would test one, boom, there would be a radiation expelled. And it kind of brought a lot of, that's why we had that ramp up. But who knows?
It's interesting you said that, Gary. Around the same time, and this is just interesting, I think it's worth noting, around that same time frame, the occultist Aleister Crowley allegedly did a some kind of long experiment or a spell or something that is supposed to there's some kind of being called Lam. He named it Lam, Lam, and there's a theory that in combination with the nuclear experiments may have opened some kind of a portal area to where these beings and various different types of beings came through. What do y'all think of that?
It very well could be too. There's a lot of different coincidences. It could be mass, though. It's at the mass concentrations that people do. Can draw anything. We only know what we know.
Exactly.
And every year, every day is something new that we learn. It's something new that people know, you know, and it sounds dumb, but that's our perception of technology. Look at technologies. Every time it advances and we just are totally blown away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is they could easily be, like I said, affecting perception of realities.
Augment, how you see them. They can appear however they want you to see them.
It's fascinating. Good questions, Kaylin. Lizzy, I'm so used to calling you Lizzy.
I answer by any.
What do you have going now that you're kind of doing your solo stuff? Can you give us at least a little hint of what's to come, what you're working on? What can we expect from you in the next year?
Yeah, I just started a new gig, and that is doing script writing for a YouTube channel, Missing Person and Mysteries, with Steve Stockton.
Wow. Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, he approached me about doing, because he is around the Aztec ruins in New Mexico, and he wanted me to do some consulting on it, because he knew I was of Aztec heritage, but then I looked into it, and it's the ancestral Pueblo people, so it has nothing to do with the Aztecs, but he also said that they were looking for paid writing gigs, so I handed in a script. So I have that going on.
Good for you. You deserve it.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
So I am. He did say that I could, if I have any cases, because I got done doing a Bobby Dunbar. It's a case in the early 1900s of a boy that went missing in Louisiana, but I am doing research now on kids that remember their past lives. So
maybe one day down the road, you could come back you could come back and tell us about some of this stuff. I'd love to have you back and hear all about that. In the meantime, I want to check out your channel too.
Yeah, and I do have my personal YouTube channel, so whenever I feel up to it and strong enough, I do free card reading. So that's what I have going on in the works currently.
Well, it sounds like you're living the dream and moving forward and achieving goals. That's wonderful. And
I would love to talk more about those card readings and more of that mystical stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you guys come back sometime. I've really enjoyed having you back, Bree, and I've enjoyed meeting you, Gary. Thank you guys for being with us today.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Thanks for having me back.
We'll have you guys back sometime soon. It'd be wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, and Kaylin, thank you very much. Also, you did great today. This is your first day. You did a great job. Thank you for being with me too, as well.
Yeah.
And you are listening to Project Stargate Friends Research. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. We would really appreciate that. It would help us out a lot. And I hope you all have a great day. Until next week, have a good night.